So I made this BUBU top and I posted it on my Instagram and my Facebook page, and a lot of you guys really liked it and wanted me to do a tutorial for it. So today I'll be showing you exactly how to cut this top and how to sew it. Now this top is really very easy, like it is beginners friendly. Now it will take you about 30 minutes or even less from start to finish. It is that easy. Okay, now if you're ready to learn this in less than 30 minutes, come with me, let me show you exactly how to make this. So for this top we'll be using about 1.5 meters or 2 meters of fabric. Now the reason why we need a lot of fabric for this top is because it is going to be folded in form of a flare, so that is why we need that amount of fabric for it. Now you're going to be using a very soft fabric. You can use satin fabric, you can use rayon, you can use silk. So right now I'm using a satin fabric, a very light satin fabric, or you can also use crepe as well. Please, if you really want it to drop well and so that the top will look really good, really take note of the fabric you use. Please, a heavy fabric will not bring out the beauty of this top. Okay, now for this top we will not be creating patterns for it at all. We're just going to mark it right on our fabric, like it is that simple. Okay, so having said that, I folded my fabric. You're going to fold your fabric just like as if you're cutting a half circle flare. So you see, this is my fabric. I've already folded it like this into two. So you fold it and then you're going to take one side of your folded edge just like this, and then you throw it like that, just as if you want to cut a circle flare. All right. So once you folded your fabric and you're happy with the way it is, the first thing we're going to do would be for us to mark our neckline. So I'll be using a fabric pen to mark my neckline. Coincidentally, my nails matches with my with my fabric. Okay, this is cool. Anyways, okay. So we're going to mark our neckline. Now you're going to mark your neckline from this point here, the top here. Now take note of how I folded it. If you look at this part now, you have 4 pieces, 1 2 3 4. This one, now this side has all the folds. Now the part that has all the fold is going to be your center front and your center back. Now we are going to cut the center front and the center back together. It's going to be exactly the same thing. The front and the back looks exactly the same thing. Okay, so now you are going to look for your neckline. You're going to measure your neckline. Now for my neckline I use 22 cm. So you just place your tape like this and look for where your neckline is. Okay, now yours may not be 22 cm, it may be slightly smaller because my shoulders are really quite big, so that is why I'm using 22 cm. You could use a lot smaller, maybe 18 cm, maybe 15 cm, 16 cm. You're going to try it out first so that you don't make mistakes. Okay, so mine is 22 cm and that was what I used for my last top. So I'm just going to mark it like this. So you just place your tape from here to here. That's where you're going to mark your neckline. So I've marked my neckline and now I'm going to just draw it with my straight ruler like so. So you connect it like that, and then you are going to drop your neckline because your neckline is not entirely straight, so you're going to drop it a little bit. Now to drop your neckline, you are going to measure from here downward about 5 cm. Okay, so you just measure from this point here, you measure 5 cm. You can also use maybe 4 cm or less, but I want mine to be a lot deeper, so that's why I'm using 5 cm. From here to here, 5 cm. And now you're going to use your French curve to connect this point to these points so that you have a nice curve here. Okay, good. Now Don't worry, it's a fabric pen, so it's going to just go off once I put it in water. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is to measure our sleeve length. How long do you want your sleeve to be? So you're going to measure it from here, and then you measure downwards. So for me, I want my sleeve length to be, say, about 32 cm. So I just mark like this. So yours could be slightly longer or it could be slightly shorter. Mine is slightly long because I want it to cover my Christian mother arms. Okay, now the next thing will be to measure the sleeve opening or the round sleeve. So you're going to determine your round sleeve, and then you're going to add a little bit of seam allowance so that it will be free. You can easily put your hands in and then bring out your arms. Okay, so for me, because my arms are quite big, so I'll be using about, say, 26 cm. So from here now, where your sleeve length stops, you're going to measure your sleeve opening. So mine is 27. Okay, I just marked 27, and that is it. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to measure the length of our top. So from here now, your neckline here, you are going to measure down how long you want your top to be. Now take note that this top stops at around your hip, not your big hip, but it's your small hip. So you're going to measure where your small hip stops. For me, my small hip is about, say, around that kind of say around 55 cm. Okay, that's where my small hips, from my shoulder to my small hip, or from my neck tip to my small hip, is about 55 cm. So I'll just place like this. I can add a little bit so that it will be slightly longer to also cover my tummy. So I'm going to add a little bit to it. So I'll be using, say, about 62 cm. Okay, I'm just going to mark here. Let me shift it a little bit so you can see. Okay, good. So from here to here is going to be the length of your top. Okay, so for me, I use 62 cm because I want it to be slightly long so it can cover my tummy. Now from this point now, where the length of your top is, you are going to measure your hip circumference, or that your small hip circumference. Now take note, you don't want it to be tight, so you're going to give a little bit of allowance. So I'm going to place my tape. You're going to divide your hip circumference by 4. So whatever you have as your hip circumference, your small hip circumference, not your big hip circumference, divide it by 4 and add a few seam allowance. Maybe, like, you also want it to be slightly not too loose, so that it will have some fitting there. So you can add maybe about 1.5 cm or 2 cm seam allowance. Okay, so for me here, if I just place mine here, mine is about 32 cm. So I'm just going to walk my tape through like this and look for where 32 cm stops, somewhere here. All right, I hope you're getting it. So this is where my 32 cm stops. From here to here is about 32 cm. Now yours may not be 32 cm, so you're just going to look for yours, and whatever your measurement is, that is what you're going to use. And now you're going to connect this point in a straight line. Okay, so that is what we are going to have. Now once you've done this, now let me trim off some parts so that you can see it very well. Okay, let me first of all trim off this neckline. So we don't need this part anymore. Now let me also trim off this part. So this is how our top looks like. Now we want to do a little bit of modification now so that our top is going to sit very well. Now on your neckline here, you are going to take off a little bit so that it will not be sharp here, and so that your neckline will relax very well. So you're going to measure downwards here 3 cm. So you place your tape just like this, and then you mark 3 cm just like this. Now you're going to connect it nicely all the way down to where your sleeve length is going to stop. Now just place your French curve like this, okay, and then you connect it very nicely, and then you're going to stop here. All right, so I'm going to cut off this part. The reason why we are doing this is so that our neckline will relax very well. Now you are going to give this part a little notch. Okay, so the next thing you're going to also amend will be this part here. We don't want any sharp pointy edges there because this is going to be our sleeve opening. We don't want it to be sharp. So you're going to measure downwards from here. Now you're going to measure downwards, say about 5 cm, just like that. And then you're also going to use your straight ruler like so. You can use a curved ruler, it doesn't matter. So from here, from this your sleeve opening here, you're just going to place your ruler and trim off these parts. Okay, so you trim off that part so that you don't have sharp pointy edges. Okay, so now let me open the top so that you can see it very well. So this is how your top is going to look like. Okay, now if you feel that your neckline looks like a V and you don't want it, anyway, it's going to drop anyway, and you don't want it to be pointy like a V like this, you can also just use your, you can just smoothen it out like this so that you have something like a canoe neck. Okay, so you see what I've just done. Good. So now we are ready to go and start stitching. Now to start stitching this stuff is really very easy. So the first thing we're actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead to overlock these raw edges so that my sewing will be neat. Now remember these notches. So once you finish overlocking the raw edges, then we're going to join it. We're going to stitch from here all the way down to where this notch is, okay? And then you do the same thing for the other side. So once you finish stitching this part and this part like this, make sure you give it a very good press. Open press your seam allowance like so, and then press it all the way down to the end, just like this. Now we're going to go ahead and stitch this part. Remember, this is going to be our sleeve opening. So we're just going to stitch this part like kind of top stitch. We stitch it like this, and then we come over to this side and stitch it all the way down to the end, because we don't want our sleeve to be opening like this. Okay, so I'm just going to start from this edge, maybe about 1 cm inside, and then stitch all the way down. Okay, so from where the joining is, just stitch inside a little bit, say about 1 cm or 1.5 cm. Lift up your presser foot, leave your needle inside the cloth, and then you're just going to move this gently like so. Okay, and then you continue stitching. Stitch a few stitches. Okay, then leave your needle inside. This is just the way to stitch corners. Leave your needle inside, lift up your presser foot, and then you turn it this way. Okay, and then you stitch it all the way down to the end. Okay, so you see what I've done. You see the corners here. If I flip it to the right side now, you see how it looks. It's like this. All right, so you're going to do exactly the same thing for the other side, and then you give it a very good press. So once you finish, you're going to have something like this, nice and neat. Okay, the next thing would be for us to finish off the hem. So you see the hem, so you're just going to fold it in like this. Just fold it in nicely, and then you fold it in again a second time. You see what I've done? Just fold it in one time and then fold it in again a second time, and then you stitch it from one end all the way down to the other end. You're going to do exactly the same thing for this other side. Okay, and then you give it a very good press. So once you finish your hem, you're going to have something like this. This is the right side, nice and neat, and this is the inside. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do would be for us to join the sides. You see, remember, this is our sleeve opening, so we're going to close it up now. We're going to join this side, stitch it from this end all the way down to our hem, from here to here. And then you're going to also do the same thing for this side. Stitch this part from here to here, and then you open press your seam allowance. Okay, so once you finish joining the side, you're going to have something like this. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do would be for us to finish off our neckline. Now before you finish off your neckline, you're going to fit in your top to check if the neckline is okay, if it is too wide or if it is too small. Now if it is too wide, no worries, you're just going to take it in a little bit like that, and on this side a little bit like so. Okay, now if it is too small, you're just going to cut it open a little bit so that it will relax very well. All right, before you start piping and finishing off your neckline. Now to finish off your neckline, we will need to pipe the neckline. You're going to cut a bias stripe like this from your fabric, and the width of the bias should be about 3.5 cm to 4 cm. It shouldn't be wider than that. Now to know the length you're going to cut, you're going to take your blouse and then you're going to measure it. So you see the blouse, you're just going to take the neckline, take your tape measure, and then just place your tape like so, and then measure it all around from one end all the way down to the other end. Now whatever you have, you're going to add 2 cm to it, so that will be the length of your bias. Now once you have that, now you're going to take this to your sewing machine and then fold it into two, with right side facing the right side, and then you're just going to go ahead and stitch off 1 cm. That's the seam allowance you added. Now be sure to cut this on the bias, it's really very important. Okay, now you stitch this and then you open press your seam allowance. Okay, so now you're going to take your bias that you have joined, place one of the joining with the right side facing you and the right side of your top. Place this inside like this. So this is the right side, and then you place it inside like so. Okay, just use your pins to hold them together in place. So you pin it all the way round like that. So once you finish pinning it all around like this, you're going to go ahead and stitch from one end all the way down to the other end. Okay, so once you finish stitching it like this, you're going to trim off the seam allowance, reduce it a little bit so that it's not bulky inside. Okay, so now for the neckline to relax very well, you are going to just move this seam allowance, you're going to move it downwards like this, move it to the dress, or the blouse rather, move it down, move the seam allowance down, and then top stitch it. You can do it here or on the other side. Okay. Okay, so now the next thing for you to do is you're going to fold this in a little bit like so. Fold it in nicely and then fold it to cover your stitches or your seam allowance. Okay, good, something like this. You see, you can even go ahead and press it first before you stitch so that it will look nice and neat. All right. Okay, so now you're going to take your top to the ironing board and then you give the top a very good press. So once you finish giving your top a very good press, you're going to have a beautiful top like this. Now tell me, what do you think about this tutorial? Was it easy? Was it simple enough for you to follow? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you found this tutorial helpful, please do not forget to share with your sewing buddies. All right.